Best English to Hindi Translation, 24x7 Offshoring. Translation Service English to Hindi Translation and Hindi to English Translation. We provide English to Hindi translation services, high-quality translators from English to Hindi language. Our translators have years of experience in translating documents and websites. English to Hindi translation. 1. English to Hindi translate documents and website. 2. Proofreading and editing English to Hindi translation. 3. Quality assurance language. 4. Customer support. 5. Contact us today. English to Hindi translation. Although this translation is 100% accurate English to Hindi translation in English to Hindi, and you can get a basic idea. With a few modifications in English to Hindi translation, it can be pretty accurate 100%. This English to Hindi translation software tool is evolving daily, featured foreign language translations. English to Hindi interpretation, English to Punjabi interpretation, English to Tamil interpretation, English to Telugu translation, English to Kannada interpretation, English to Bengali interpretation, English to Gujarati interpretation, English to Marathi interpretation, English to Malayalam interpretation, English to Assamese translation, English to Odia translation, English to Hindi translation. English to Hindi translation gives the best convenient accessibility to on-the-web interpretation solution powered by 24x7 Offshoring several maker interpretation engines. English to Hindi interpretation resource features an internet translation service, an English text-to-speech solution, an English spell checker resource, an on-screen English to Hindi language translation computer keyboard for significant languages, back translation, an email client, and so much more. One of the most convenient translation atmospheres ever produced. Included language translations: Spanish interpretation, French translation, British interpretation, German interpretation, Italian translation, Portuguese translation, Russian interpretation, Mandarin translation, Oriental interpretation, Arabic interpretation, Hebrew interpretation, Polish interpretation. 24x7 Offshoring and other programmers have been focusing on it for additional exact outcomes and rapid processing. The interpretation method manually is complicated, pricey and time-getting. English to Hindi typing, English to Hindi translation sentences, English to Hindi translation app, English to Hindi typing, Google English to Hindi translation best site, English to Hindi converter online, English to Hindi words name, English to Hindi Roman translation, English to Hindi translation online unlimited words, English to Hindi translation photo online, English to Hindi translation online, English to Hindi translation, English translation, Hindi translation, translate to Hindi, Hindi typing best site for English to Hindi translation, English to Hindi translation PDF, English to Hindi translation in Google, English to Hindi translation by camera, English to Hindi translation meaning, English to Hindi translation voice.